I welcome him, and we very much look forward to hearing about supporting diagnostic innovation to scale the Indian experience. Please take it away.
Thank you, Keith, for this introduction, and Jennifer and Barbara for the invite to this early morning symposium. And I'm delighted to be here. I bring to be there in the symposium, bring greetings to all of you from India. A very good namaskar and good morning, good afternoon to all of people attending today. So what I'll do is in next 15 minutes, which has been allotted to me, I will share you the Indian experience of how supporting diagnostic innovation to scale, what is our experience. And I will be giving out a funder's perspective, basically working in a funding agency where we looked at the challenges in funding innovations and how innovations were nearly catalyzed in the academic setting and then scaled up and validated and brought into a commercial exit. That the experience how we do being a funding agency. And very nicely done today. My next speaker today, Dr. Minal, comes from my labs, which has been a really very good live experience, how they scaled up the COVID diagnostic experience. So that I think has been planned very well today. So what I will do is I'll talk about funding agency.
Sorry to interrupt. Thank you, sir, for all your support to my lab.
Thank you very much. Yeah, we will discuss that in the question answer session as well. So yeah, I think very well covered today on. So what I'll talk is of the funding agency's perspective. Barbara, can I have my next slide, please? So my next slide shares, what basically the challenges in the innovation ecosystem which we face and how we take it. In case of diagnostics, moving from discovery to delivery is a very quick path as compared to, if you say, vaccines or drugs. In case of medical technologies and diagnostics, it's a very quick path, quick in the sense we can move very, very fast, but there we require strong validation and justification and moving from one step to the other. So we have protocols, and in funding agency, we fund everything from discovery, the proof of concept, moving the proof of concept to a development, more validation phase, and then the delivery phase. So that and the challenges our innovators face at each level, which is at the discovery, the development, or the delivery, has been outlined in these slides. And this is just from our experience and our working, how we face, how it moves around the thing. So when all we advise our young innovators and startups, and my lab is a very live examples of it, is you need to understand the problem well, what you are working for, what is your end product, what is your target product profile, has to be thought in very beginning, because ultimately when the product is formed, somebody needs to buy it. And in the COVID times, it was brought in by the government. So I think how quickly it can detect, how specific is this test, how sensitive is this test. I think that our innovators do a very good SWOT analysis at the very beginning. So we really encourage them to have those analysis done, and understanding the market pull and push, how risky the program is, how much the government support is giving to you, or how much the venture funds is supporting you. I think these sort of analysis needs to be done in the very beginning. And what is the local infrastructure? Though we have created right now a network of incubators in this country, we have created a network of almost 60 plus incubators through our system in this country. But I think everything needs to be analyzed and thought through well in the beginning. I advise all my grantees who come to me that you have to tell us a very good story. How you take your science strong, it has to be 60 to 70% is strong science, and how you convert that strong science into a product which is targeted, which has a high specificity, which has a good sensitivity, which is affordable, which is accessible. I think these all needs to be built in when you think about your story. It should be just like your fairy tale. It should start like once upon a time and ends with happily lived ever after, which is generally a process. So I think that sort of story needs to be developed, and we advise all our innovators working in this space to take it, because this is a very quick moving field. In 1.5 to 2 years, you know how your product is moving, it needs to be validated, and then the regulatory clearances needs to be brought in. Similarly, when you develop the product, you take it to the development, and then to the delivery, you need to identify all your challenges in place. So that's how we advise our applicants to move forward when they look at diagnostics or medical devices to the next stage. Can I have my next slide, please? So my next slide will tell you where we come from. We come from an organization called the BIRAC, which is the Biotechnology Industry Research Assistance Council. And this has been created by the Government of India through the Ministry of Science and Technology and the Department of Biotechnology to really handhold and enable the innovation ecosystem in this country. That is a very good example of how innovation and BIRAC really handholds innovators, or not only handholds, but enables innovation to take it from bench to the bedside. That is our idea. And our major job is funding. But apart from funding, we enable the ecosystem. We help them to identify mentors. We help them to identify, space or startup incubators. We help them to write their grant application. Once the prototype has been developed, we help them to provide them validation beds to do it. Once they are validated, we help them to navigate through the regulatory system. And once your test is validated, what the regulatory clearances has been given, and we help them to really connect them to the ecosystem so that it can be bought and sold off. So entire enabling the ecosystem has to be built into a system. So funding is a key element, I fully understand. But if the science is not strong along with the funding and the team is not good, I think you have a number of stories around India, and the next story you will hear after me, the MyLab, is one of such stories where, you have to have a team, strong science, of course, funding, and the enabling ecosystem, which will help you to take your innovation to next level. So my organization really helps to enable the innovation ecosystem, of course, through a funding support, but providing you all the, bricks and mortar for take your innovations to the next level. My next slide, please. So how we enable the ecosystem is we really help them product move from the proof of concept. I will not describe you our programs, but we have programs and bricks from literally from the discovery stage to early and late stage to then to take it to a level of large scale up, and then product commercialization. We have programs that really move from all the scales, and we really handhold them to take it to the next level. Next slide, please. So this is how we help you to ideate your concept, and our COVID story is the biggest example, where in 3 to 4 months, less than 3 to 4 months, good diagnostics were made available. We were initially importing, now we are exporting, not only diagnostics, but other elements. And this has happened with the strong innovation ecosystem, which has been created in India, so that things moves very, very seamlessly from one level to the next level. So we help in ideation, then idea development, proof of concept, early stage development, late stage development, and product commercialization, and hitting you to the market. So you have to handhold the innovation ecosystem so that your innovation literally moves from the bench to the bedside, or from concept to reality. And we have various instruments and mechanisms to support that. Next slide, please. My next slide will tell you what is the key elements in empowering the enterprise. So you need an enterprise structure to take the innovation level, and you should have a space for it to really, breed or visualize your innovation. So we provide incubation space, and this is government systems, not only us but various other systems also are providing incubation space. Then research resources, academia industry partnership. There are very, very strong academic groups in India, and we help them to catalyze those partnerships between academia and the research to take your innovation from, literally from the research shelves so that it can be validated at a level which can be commercially exploited. IP and technology management, the IP validation and the technology management and mentoring. So all the bricks are needed, which is provided to the ecosystem to take the innovation from literally bench to the bedside. Next slide, please. Now, let us now be specific on our diagnostics, how we really help. And COVID has been a very, very interesting time of uh, supporting diagnostics, because as soon as 30th January, when we first tried to sequence the Wuhan strain, and then the diagnostics companies like MyLab really jumped into foray, where they were the first to come out with the diagnostic testing kits. So I think that was the time when we also brought out our COVID Research Consortium program, or the COVID Research Consortium grant, which had 4 parallels basically. First was the diagnostic, then was the enabling devices like the PPE kits, the thermal sensors, the sanitizers and things. And then we thought, and then the other parallel was therapeutics and the vaccines. You have heard the vaccine story, which I think in a year's time, it was really a history where vaccine really came out from, really the sequence coming out, the virus being isolated and the vaccine being tested. So without bypassing any regulations, that story came out. But the diagnostic was the key element, because without diagnosis, we were not able to move. And this research consortium really, we funded around 19 portfolios were funded. And if you can see, we have a portfolio of, from, under validations to validation, which has been completed in market and scale up. And MyLab, you can see in the top right hand in the topmost corner is there. So we really created large scale shared manufacturing facility. One of the AMTZ's platforms, another thing was created, because if you don't get the shared manufacturing facility, quick scale up was not possible. So that was created. Then promoting import substitution, there was a challenge in importing. Flights were closed and a lot of integrants were, coming from various other countries were imported. So we really helped them to, and how we did that, I'll tell you. And then testing and validation support and regulatory facilitation. Regulatory facilitation, testing and validation support was key element to provide test beds. That was created. We have almost now, through our national biopharma mission, which I will briefly describe to you, we have created almost 50 plus test bed sites where you can validate your you have a cohort of positive samples where you can validate it. So we are trying to create that, and regulatory facilitation was a very key element. We opened our doors every week, and every Friday we helped the diagnostic companies to come to us, connected them to the regulators, helped them to how to get them tested, because the startups didn't have that infrastructure to do it. We help them to connect with other infrastructures to support it. So I think that these enabling platforms were really important to take the innovations to the next level. My next slide, please. So the next slide, what we did was we created NBRIC, the National Biomedical Resource Indigenized Consortium. It was created at a facility in CCamp in Bangalore, where we promoted the idea of Make in India initiative for biomedical research and innovative products, and where we really got them the raw materials and for diagnostics together, and they tried to indigenize them and bring it out. So almost 300 plus Indian manufacturers from diagnostics, from medical devices joined in that consortium, where pool imports of raw material was done, and we helped them to get them these raw materials. Indigenization of raw materials, how can we do it, what can be replaced, a thorough infrastructure, and the government systems was part of this NBRIC facility, the regulators were part of it, the manufacturers were part of it. So you can have a platform of discussion to see how we can take the innovation. And now we have 100, I'm proud to say that companies like MyLab and all other companies, 100% self-sufficiency in indigenous diagnostic production was achieved through this. So I think this was a very good platform which was created, and through the government support to indigenize the diagnostics and become self-sufficient and export it as well. So we are right now exporting it as well. My next slide, please. Few of the products which we have done, if you can see, so many tests have been brought out. So I will not read of them, but this is the example how we really took the brought ourselves to take really a test which was developed post January, and was tested, say, around June, July, August. So, so quickly it was moved to the scale. And not only the innovators needs a full credit of it, which they are the people who did it 24/7, no time limits and nothing, but the enabling infrastructure like the regulators, the validator, people who validated it, and the necessary infrastructure which was created, I think really helped them to take it to the next level. May I have a next slide, please? Now, what I described to you is the DBT, the Department of Biotechnology, BIRAC, and NBMA COVID Research Consortium was created. And under this, these four parallels, nucleic acid detection, antibody detection, antigen detection, and these parallels were really supported under each of these categories were supported. And this was not because I'm telling you that we supported. This was credit to these companies which are named here. They came forward with their innovations, and all were brilliant innovations, which I think had some, because innovations, if they don't have strong scientific rationales, can't be taken to the next level. So I think this was what was achieved, and these are young innovators literally worked throughout and took this innovation to the top. So I think that was really important. I will answer the questions in the discussion forum. Also, I'll try to answer them during my once my talk gets over. Next slide, please. So I will not talk about this. So we supported a lot of screening devices, sanitization platforms, ventilators, and they were all the similar model which was aborted to take it forward to the next level. So I think that was the very important element of supporting across the consortium and creating verticals, which was a diagnostic team was created within our system as well, who were 24/7 talking to these innovators, helping them. We reviewed the proposals overnight. They were reviewed overnight. They were, again, modified overnight. I think both ways, the innovators, our organizations work together in tandem to see that the innovations needs to be moved forward. Whatever funding need was there, we tried to satisfy them to take it to the next level. So next slide, please. So moving ahead, I think what was the learning here was that it was a targeted funding we did on a specific funding, or we call it hunt and fund. We really looked at proposals, brought them and funded them. So I think targeted funding was a very important criteria. Academia, industry, translational centers, which really worked out to take it. Partnerships were we didn't bypass any regulatory standard. It was a world-class regulatory standard which was brought in. Scale up and commercialization of innovation was very fast. Robust market pathway. As soon as it was moved, the companies were really had taken up to market very soon. And disruptive technologies was brought in. I think thanks to our innovating culture here, who took it to the next level. And some of more examples. Next slide, please. We also worked on creating mobile diagnostics vans. We have created almost 3 to 4 under the Grand Challenges India scheme, which my colleague run here, Arshi Mahbub runs it, and she, they funded around 3 of diagnostic vans, one in the northeast part, one in the southern end part, one in the 2 in the southern, one in Madras. We created locations. And similarly, this iLab was funded near Delhi somewhere. So these were fully equipped diagnostic vans with RT-PCR kits, so that it can go to the remotest locations, take a sample, get the analysis done, and they were connected through a Wi-Fi network through the central base hospital, where the results were immediately transferred there, and the patients were informed through SMS system, and they can, if they need to be further taken up for further or need to be monitored or quarantined, was done. And similarly, we created these networks of mobile diagnostics labs also, which moved around the remotest rural villages and things, and they collected the data from samples from there, get it analyzed within the mobile diagnostic van itself, and they took it to the next level. Next slide, please, which shows one more example of it. So this is one which is in the Trivandrum, deployed at Rajiv Gandhi Center in Trivandrum. Kerala was a very hot spot, so we got it deployed there. Next slide, please. Which the next slide shows the internal. These diagnostic van have fully, from disposal of bio waste to doing all analysis was inbuilt inside the van itself. Next slide, please. So I think basically what it was that we My lab, my colleague from my lab will speak after me, that the first indigenous kit was developed there. Andhra Pradesh MedTech Zone in Vishakhapatnam create a shared facility where almost huge number of RT-PCR kits, DNA extraction, RNA extraction kits were manufactured. There were other companies who really supported us in doing it. So I think the enabling funding and the partnership was a key element to take a diagnostics very quickly from discovery to validation to a marketplace. Next slide, please. And this was done through our national biopharma mission, where we really helped them to develop specific products. We create center of excellence to really scale it up, skill development, and technology transfer capabilities from academia to the lab was very key element, which the biopharma mission does it. Now, my final slide talks about what was the key element each should think about when you create these enterprise innovation culture in taking innovation to the next level. We all have to think in a 360-degree approach where science has to be strong, but apart from science, our exit strategy, our business plan, our IP strategy, our regulatory strategy, a clinical development plan, if it is needed, needs to be built in together to build a strong story to take innovation. And COVID has taught us that. And the infrastructure which we had created really helped us. And COVID has taught us that, where it was a beautiful collaboration between academia, the business, and regulators, the funders, and take it to the next level. So I think that's what we learned. And thank you very much for patience. I think my next slide is the last. This is my last slide. Next slide. Thank you very much. I'm happy to take questions at the end of the presentation from Dr. Minal. Thank you.
Well, thank you for a fantastic talk. I mean, the word that struck out to me was holistic and integrated. I'm sure we'll come back to those questions or observations. Thank you for those who've posted some questions already. Please continue to post questions and we'll follow them through. And Dr. Melanie, you have a great setup. You were mentioned several times in that first talk. So the floor is very much yours. And so without further ado, we would love to hear from you about your experience of developing diagnostics. Thank you. So Minal has more than a decade of experience in molecular biology and its application to infectious diseases, oncology, and applied science in general. A virologist by training from the National Institute of Virology and with a PhD from California Public University. She previously worked on viral genomics, diagnostics, and particular quality control systems while at NIV. She was instrumental in developing the first ever RT-qPCR test for COVID-19 in India and provided plenty of technical expertise to the MyLab team, particularly with respect to quality control, document management, and commercial for regulatory approvals. Her areas of expertise include developing molecular diagnostics, R&D management, lab operations, and also, of course, training, so important. And she acts as the ISO 17025 internal coordinator. So with that as a belated introduction, her title of the talk is Innovating for a Billion People in the Developing Nation. Dr. Minal, thank you.
With the continuation, I would like to emphasize on how India, together with the government and private firms, have fight against the COVID-19 and such a bad disaster. So, the biotechnology firm involved in the development and commercialization of the molecular diagnostic kits. And now, starting from the COVID, we have been involved in the serology as well as immunology development kits as well. So today's my topic is innovating for a billion people. So basically what MyLab aim, what is the MyLab vision for starting up this organization is discovery to delivery. And I would like to show our journey in brief. Am I audible? There is a little bit problem at my level about network, so I'm really sorry for that. So basically, we have started a MyLab with a
Data, I didn't get it.
Hello.
I have submitted yesterday. They have basically I have submitted some products, which is RT enzyme, tag polymerase, and tag DNA. These are
excuse me,
4 products which I have registered yesterday.
Can we try and have the phones on mute, please? Thank you.
Should I
Okay, yeah.
continue my talk?
For registration, it was pending, right?
Barbara, could you mute?
Okay.
You have host capabilities, I think, to mute
Do
people.
I?
Hello. Should I continue my talk?
Okay.
Bear with 1 minute, Minal. I think Barbara is just going to mute any participants that are not on mute, and then you can carry on. Okay, I think we're good. Sorry about that. Over to you.
Okay. We have started with the vision of developing and commercializing the diagnostic kits. We have developed this vision since the swine flu pandemic. I was a part of the National Institute of Virology since 2009 till 2014, where I have been working on swine flu pandemic, its diagnosis and related research. And since then, when I came up with the our management team at MyLab, we felt that we have a common vision to work for the public health, to work for the society and give the indigenous solutions. Because during the pandemic of swine flu, we were totally dependent on the international solutions. There were a very few companies who have developed the diagnostic test for H1N1. So with these learnings, we have kept a vision for MyLab and for India to develop an indigenous test and to support our society. So in 2014, we have started MyLab at Pune headquarters, and I was the first employee being at the R&D department. So at R&D, we have started working on the vision, and we have a clear clarity what we wanted to do. So we wanted to start up with the RT-PCR test, which we believe that a gold standard. So we have started working on a NAT testing. First of all, that is a test for blood during for HIV, HBV, and HCV, which is required before donating a blood to anyone. So we have started with this test kit. During all these years, we have developed an expertise for molecular test kit. It is not a very easy path for us. It is there were so many challenges because at 2014 there was no other firm in India who has developed RT-PCR test kit indigenously. So we were the first one and very independent, no backup, no funding, nothing. But we have started with our vision and with a big dream for society support. So during whole this year, we have developed expertise in the R&D development, where for any diagnostic kit, we need to think about the design of the test kit, its strategy, then which technology we should utilize. Then after that, how to develop a kit, means how to standardize the test for optimum performance of sensitivity, specificity, accuracy, and clinical parameters. And then the validation, and last but most important, in the to fulfill the regulatory challenges to make a quality product which can surpass to any international standards. So whole these years, we have tried hard together with our expertise. We have built the R&D facilities, then manufacturing firm at Lonavala, which is FDA approved. And I think when COVID came up, all these years experienced helped us to come up with a Made in India first kit. And the main focus being a innovation of MyLab. So I would request to go for next slide, please. So I would like to share our long story, but in a brief manner. So when COVID had arrived, the first case detected in January in India. And as you know, the India had to look out for its huge population. The situation was very scary. It was a novel virus. Though the virus was novel, but we have prepared to detect it because we have developed the complete process for development. So that processes, that experience help us to come up with a cost-effective kit, which is quality product with a very short time span, which was the need of an hour. So when India needed a test where India was importing it from other countries and which has very short supply, the cost was very high, like 4,500 rupees. And just two government institutes, mainly NIV being most crucial for processing the COVID samples. And if you know, if you can see, there were very little infrastructure in India to support the RT-PCR testing at private firms as well. So at my lab, we came up with the first RT-PCR test with all our expertise in very short term. We have designed the test, we have developed it, we have validated it, and got the commercial approval from government as well. And we came up with the test with a cost-effective manner. Initially, we started with the single place RT-PCR test where screening and confirmatory targets were separated. Slowly, we have moved to the duplex PCR and slowly then multiplex PCR. So in a whole journey, we have come up with improvised products which can give the results in short time with a good quality and which is cost effective. All these things, we were not the only one, though the first one, but I would like to emphasize on the government support and government strategies. Here, Indian government pushed all its might to create and aid the innovators. Government has planned for strategies to manage this pandemic very well. Government supported us to come up with the test kit in a short time, supported us for the funding. Next slide, please. So together, we came up with the solution to fight against the COVID-19. So this was a little story of my lab and of course for India. As you know, the India is very resource constrained nation, but then also with the expertise, with the hard work, with the faith, with the trust and going together, we came up with the solutions and fight against the COVID very successfully. But the main point is, what did it really mean? Means what we have done during COVID, that is one part, what we have learned during the COVID, that is the most important part. And then now with this experiences, what we have to do or what we are planning next, that is the most crucial part. So I would request for the next slide. So I would like to tell you that for my lab, innovation is the whole 9 yards. What does we mean by innovation? Innovation is just the giving something a unique idea, developing new product. No, with this experience, we have learned that innovation is more than just doing the research and discovering something new, but real innovation means to be prepared for hard problems, to understand the pain of the people, to take a solution to the common people, to reach the people, which we can give in a positive way to impact their lives. So with this approach, when we looked back now, what we felt that we were prepared with this innovation theme in our mind. So we were prepared because we always believed in gold standard, that is RT-PCR test. So even before country was ready to fight against COVID, my lab came up with the test kit. Then the main focus, what we had and we have and we will have it to make the solution for people. So we always wanted to test the kit in very affordable manner because the India is like not very rich country, and here middle class, lower middle class population is high. We have to reach the people and we have to provide a mass screening approaches. So we came up with a solution which was very cost effective compared to international kits, and further we have reduced the cost as we scaled up. The third important is when the solution is ready, we have to reach to the people. Only solution, only kit is not sufficient at all. That what we have learned through this pandemic when we have designed and delivered the kit till end of the northern and southern part of the India. Again, to overcome the richness to the common people, we came up during the second wave, as you know, the first wave we have surpassed, but during the second wave, the scenario was very, very bad. Everyone is scrambling. So during that, we came up with the mobile laboratories where we could have reached to the very remote areas and support for testing. So in mobile labs, we came up with the automation system. So automation was the innovation by my lab as well. So we have a lab in box, that is our compact Excel automated system where we can get the isolation and PCR in a complete manner. So sample to result will be in an hour test. So we have come up with the mobile labs. Then we have came up with the self-test. As the thinking and looking to the pandemic, we have to come up with a very rapid test, point of care test to come up with the solution and for mass screening and to reach each and every individual. So we have come up with the antigen test, which is a rapid test, lateral flow test. And with this, the software of based on artificial intelligence, so that only single 1 minute test for taking the swab and put it sample on the strip, and in 15 minutes we get the results. It is like fantastic. And then we reached at each and every door. So for this country with a huge diversity, we feel that, and I'm proud to tell you that my lab was front at the to fight against the COVID. So next slide, please. So this is what we have done, but now we don't want to stop. We want to move ahead. And with this, during whole this our journey, who has helped us, that meant us a lot. With a single-handed, we could not achieve this success. We could not support the system. We could not support the society. It could have happened due to support from government, from our advisors, from investors, suppliers. So basically, together we did it. So as proud I feel that we are to make the testing available in India, which was the need of an hour. We have to see who has supported us. So the first and foremost was the BIRAC, funded by DBT firm, which is the Indian government, who has come forward and helped us to scale up our capabilities for production. So it was a huge support we have received from government, which was really helped us to go further and further and to do more and more for our society. Furthermore, everyone came together, like our advisors, our investors, raw material suppliers. Of course, one thing I want to emphasize here, to have a good production scale, the raw material suppliers are equally important. And then we have found it out, the indigenous suppliers only. In turn, we can save the money as well as time. So now we are proud that India has all, like there are different suppliers who can provide us the raw material, and our product is actually an indigenous made in India product. So everyone came together and helped to ensure that India has all the tests which they need. Furthermore, there were so many unknown angels who have helped us during whole this journey, like Postmaster of Pimpri Chinchwad, who had his staff available for us 24/7 to ship our kits on by road to any part of the country. The driver drove more than 17 hours to reach northern or southern Indian territory and handed over the kits. Because without reaching to the people, we could not have supported them, and it was not a complete solution. So we always believe on a complete delivery of the product to the society. Next slide, please. So now, with this whole experience, with together, we had done a very good job, and we want to go ahead and ahead to support our people. Now, what we need to think about it and what we need to develop about it. So now for all these things, we have a very good energy, and society has shown, government has shown faith on us, so that we can do more and more developments. We can learn more and more technologies to come up with the solutions and to make the India independent and world class brand, which is made in India. So now our major focus will be on point of care and automation. say diagnostic kits is one part, but to test it, it will be accessible to the society, it will be feasible, it is very easy, and have a need very little infrastructure. Then only we can reach to the actual people. So for that now, we are trying to develop ecosystem, where recently we have acquainted the company known as Swayam. Basically, this is a health chaos where we can tell it as like we can say it as a healthcare ATM. So in 15 minutes, we can test more than 15 tests of blood test, liver test, kidney test, so that, and it is a like point of care, and we need not to have any expertise in it. So with this experience, with innovations, with various approaches of going beyond and beyond to our territory, we are focusing on point of care system, which is a right path to the diagnosis, innovation, and production scale up, and to reach the people with solutions. So for whole this journey and our future perspective, though we are trying to reach at international way to each and every part of the world, but our main focus would be to serve people, to help poorer, because we have also came up from India, which is a resource constrained country, which is a little bit poor country. So focusing on the Vasudeva Kutumbakam, we want to help people with economic solutions, with innovative approaches, and with accessible solutions. So
you can wrap up, Minal, please.
So next, please. So with this story, I would like to thank you, where together we can do, we had done, and we will do. So being a MyLab person, I would like to emphasize one more thing, that the MyLab is not the organization, it is a family. And being Indians, I'm really proud to be part of the MyLab, to be part of the India and made in India. So we want to support our country, we want to support our nation, and not the nation, but we want to make a brand, made in India brand, for whole the international countries. Thank you so much.
Well, that's lovely. Thank you again for a very inspiring talk. I think many of us listening would applaud you from wherever we are around the world. So I now open it up for questions. Barbara, we had some both from the first talk and some from the second. So do you want to select a few to raise?
Yes, so first, Dr. Minal, thank you so much for your presentation. And there is a question on the chat. Is there anything published on the automation and AI you mentioned? Where can we get more information about this?
Yes, we have our own site where we have published about automation and AI, so that you can get a little bit updates from our MyLab site. Secondly, regarding the automation, we have one publication as well for NatSpert, where we have developed a complete automated system on Compact Excel platform. And if, in that case also, if you would like to know more about it, I will share all the details with you.
Thank you so much.
In brief, I would like to tell you about our automation system. It is basically a Compact Excel automated system, completely developed indigenously by MyLab. Since 2016, we have started working on it. Here, it is a 32 sample testing system where we have to load the clinical samples. For example, say respiratory sample in VTM for COVID-19. And then the machine will automatically do the extraction part and master mix preparation for real-time PCR testing. And second is real-time PCR, where amplification and detection will be carried out. So right now there are more than 70 installations all over the India for Compact Excel, and the COVID-19 testing has been done on Compact Excel as well. Even in mobile vans also, we have launched the Compact Excel. The mobile van is a project which is in collaboration with ICMR, and it has been like deployed at Delhi Airport, Mumbai Airport to have a testing for international travelers, and even at remote areas like UP and Bihar, so that we can reach to remote and help people.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And there is also another question for the first presentation, Dr. Mukherjee. How was the large consortium formed and coordinated, considering the varied interests of many parties?
Thank you for the question. I think the first and foremost thing here was, we were passing through a national emergency. That, I think that was the basic idea, and everybody got together, the manufacturers, the raw material providers, the importers, and the government. So we created this platform, and so that, all of them can come into this platform, get their raw materials identified and sourced, or indigenization of it. So it was first and foremost, nobody, and that is the beauty of the system, was every innovator, every industry which came together kept their personal the interest of our organization at side, and looked at the interest, how good we can bring out a kit, how fast we can bring it out, how affordable it can be, and how it can be maximally used. So that was the basic ethos of creating this platform, and that helped us. Of course, you are right, there are a lot of corresponding interest comes up when you're really working on a business platform. But here that was a bit, I think, thanks to the innovators and the companies who really worked on it. So that's how it was. A board was created which had representatives from the industries and everybody who really worked it out and helped them to channelize raw materials and at a very affordable and a structured cost. So I think that was the ethos which was built up, and really got the support from the startups and the industries and the companies who really helped up to move it. So that was the idea of how it was brought up with varied interest, and it was really crystallized and taken up.
Thank you so much. I can see that Michael raised the hand, so maybe there's a question there.
Yeah, I think I would just like to commend you on the framework that you created, because something that we encountered with dealing with many other countries is that there's kind of, people don't want to develop such a framework because it means that often there are lots of vested interests in these systems around diagnostics because there's so much money. And it's like, as soon as you have a framework where things can kind of be equitable and everyone has equal opportunity to develop diagnostics, then people get a little bit edgy. And so it depends on who is controlling the regulatory framework in the country. And so it's really nice to see a good example of someone who's essentially doesn't care about all the vested interests or whatever, or maybe you just work within a system where you're actually able to make these decisions without so much pushback from everyone else. But yeah, it's a good example for other countries, I think.
Sure, absolutely. And we are also very happy to catalyze it. And the government is really catalyzing it. And it is not a one-way traffic that we decide and catalyze. It is a equal mutual cooperation which we get from the innovators, the companies like MyLab and other companies who are literally supportive of such type of initiative and come together. That is how it goes on. So that's the idea. Over.
Thank you. There is actually, Keith, there was one question from you. At which point in the development cycle does Indian industry investors typically engage with the medical device developers? And how would you characterize the risk?
Minal, would you like to answer, or I should answer first?
So you start being the most senior person and most experienced.
No. So I think, as far as investment from our side is concerned, we looked at, how good is the team, how affordable, how strong is the science, how good is the team, and how quickly we can develop up, providing all the innovation into place. So that is our concept of investment into it. And we invested proof of concept, we invested at a later stage as well, and till product commercialization as well. So we invested with that in mind. Now, the angel investors or startups, I think we should really thank them as well, because they also invested looking at public good during this COVID time. Of course, their return on investment has to be built in, and they had built in that. but public good was one of the foremost things in mind, because we were looking for kits which really wanted to be literally quickly developed, validated, and deployed. So that was the thing, and I think Minal can answer, because they must have handled much more investment, than we have invested. So I think she can. But I think the ethos was once again there, that public good was in mind. Over to you, Minal.
Yes, sir, you are absolutely right. First of all, I would like to thank you, sir, because at DBT, BIRAC was the first government organization who has supported us to scale up our production during the initial lockdown period, and when we have came up with the test kit. See, only developing is not the solution, but to deliver it with the right time, with the right mass is more important. We feel that. And without without investors support, we could not have done whole this journey with a successful outcome. So investors and investment is really important. And from our perspective, like from the manufacturing firm perspective, we have to prove that our product is a quality product and it is meant for the public health.
Lovely. Thank you. I have many follow-on questions, but I hand the floor back over to Barbara. Thank you.
Yes, there's one more. Yes. So, Dr. Mukherjee, thank you for the presentation. Which sector led to the platform framework? Is it the government? And for significant decisions redirection, which sector has most push?
Can you just slowly elaborate the question? I missed some part of it. Can you slowly elaborate it?
Okay.
Yes, of course. So which sector led that platform framework, and is it the government? And for significant decisions redirections, which sector has most push? Sorry.
Okay, I got it. Is in the chat as well. So I think, yes, the government catalyzed and initiated that platform. The framework was created by the government. Of course, government, once it created, it has some convening power. So always, I should not say a dominating power, but a convening power per se. So if people will listen to me, if I call Minal will definitely pick up my phone, because being in a government, she will definitely, that of sort of, structure we have it in India, and a respect for the government people have in India. So definitely we have a convening power. We created the platform and the framework, but we brought in equitable stake from, the end users, the companies, everything had, and the decision was not ours. When the decision was to be taken, the decision was taken by the group which was created there, or which a structure or a decision-making body which was created there, which had equal representation and majority representation from the startup innovators companies, where the major representation, they took the decision. We never interfered with that, and that is how it is. That is how the push was created, and it was catalyzed very fast. So we just created that platform, and through our convening power, so we were there. But I think the major decision, everything is taken by the platform itself. Over.
Thank you so much.
I had a question. You mentioned at the beginning telling a story, and you mentioned a fairy tale. And I wondered whether, and Minal described diagnostics at a quarter of the cost, and accessible, and accessing the poor, which I think resonated with so many of us. How close do you think we are to reassured or the assured criteria for a quality diagnostic? So Minal, you mentioned focusing on quality. Is quality and the WHO assured or reassured criteria of affordable, accessible, simple, sensitive? Is that a realistic objective in the next few years, or do you think it remains one of your fairy tales?
So I think it's a very, very interesting and very important question. The the fairy tale, what I meant, and I really love that in analogy when I give it to my prospective grantees, when I do my grant writing workshops or grant writing clinics, is that you need to bring out a product. It may be diagnostic or a medical technology device, when anything which has to be affordable, accessible, best in quality. And best of the quality means it needs to be highly, in case of diagnostic, it has to be sensitive and specific, and has the right specificity as per the TPP, the target product profile, developed by the regulatory agencies. That is the end game. You can't bypass this. And I think I'm very happy, very happy to report that all the diagnostic kits, including the one which has come up, they literally, including the MyLabs one, has been into the quality standards, has built up the quality standards and have passed all the quality tests onto it. Whether internationally, of course, every company will like to export it. I will like to generate more business and get WHO pre-qualification wherever and WHO standards wherever it is needed. So they will aspire that, and that is essential to expand their business. And but Indian regulators are very, very sharp and strong. You can't bypass any system, and so ideal will be to get all the standard in place. And I hope it doesn't remain a fairy tale. It literally gets into the right perspective, and the companies are aspiring for that. Over. Minal, you want to add something?
Yes, sir, as you correctly mentioned, for quality, we have to go with the international standards, and for regulatory, without regulatory approvals, not a single diagnostic kit can come into the market.
All right. Are there any other questions? We're running a little behind time, but one of the speakers for the lightning talk has unfortunately had to drop out, so we're not running too far behind. Any last questions? If not, I think we'll take a 5-minute break. Come back at 5:15 Singapore Philippine time, so that's about 7 minutes. So a lightning break before the lightning talk. And just leaves me to thank the two speakers. I think you've seen the comments. Everyone is very impressed, and we watch with great interest. And thank you for sharing.
Thank you very much, Jennifer, Barbara, and Keith, and all of you for listening to us. Thank you very much, and namaskar from India.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, team, for this opportunity, and it's a really very great discussion among all of us. So thank you so much.